So, Dani, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, John.
Is it morning?
It's
kind of morning. It feels like morning to me, but
does.
this little champagne celebration for our inaugural show. Welcome, everyone, to the Dani and John show. All things parking.
All things parking.
How exciting.
I know.
Right?
This is great. I'm really excited. I'm excited to be here. I finally made it this morning after, I love that people who are listening to this right now are probably like, who know me, are going to be like, she was late, just naturally.
Of course you were. Of course you were. You're always late.
Well, and I was sitting there this morning on my way and I'm texting you. I'm like, hey, I'm running late.
I was kind of late too, but I got here before you, so I wasn't.
Answer any of the texts. I'm like, is John alive? Is John there? What's going on?
I'm not a good texter.
Or answering emails either. So.
Whoa! I answer emails.
Hey,
Come on.
There's two people in this room right now who can agree with that. So.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy ride leading up to the start of this show, don't you think?
Absolutely. No, it has. It's
we were a little bit delayed because you were busy, and then I got busy.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. So, if people are listening to the show that are not in parking, do you think they're excited about parking?
Probably not. I'm going to say...
What do you think they're thinking? Parking.
Well, it's really funny. I thought about this on my way here because I was actually talking to my dad, and I'm like, I still don't think my dad knows what I do, right? Like, I've been in, I'm very new to parking, but I think that when you talk parking and people they think about just parking your car, right? They think about driving downtown, driving to work. They're just parking their car. So
you know what I think?
What?
I think if people are thinking about parking, it's because there's probably something that went wrong with their experience. I think the best parking experience is the one never remembered, right? It's not a destination. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And it's funny because if people do have an awful experience, they always remember parking, right?
They do.
It always starts...
First and last impression.
First and last impression.
First and last impression.
Hey, we agree on something. This is good. This is a good start to the show.
But it is important to mention you go through all these different cycles of your career, which I'm sure people listening that are in parking can attest to this. You kind of hit it when you said, "I don't think my parents know what I do," and so. After 30 years or almost 30 years in the industry, I think my parents are kind of getting it. But you go through different cycles. So you go early 20s, early 30s. I was in real estate. Well, that sounded cool. Yeah, I'm in real estate. When really I'm in parking.
But technically parking can be seen as real estate, right?
Right.
It is real estate.
It is.
Going back to our parents not really knowing what we do, your dad's always around, and I love that.
Yeah.
He's always around. He was here for the PRRS Expo.
Yep. He was here for the 20th anniversary. He kind of knows what I do.
He's finally catching on
after all these years. He's finally caught up.
He's like, God damn, I finally know what John does.
I think my family's finally understanding, but it takes a while. Yeah, do your friends ask you what you do? What do you say?
At this point, I just say I park cars.
Park cars. So you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, I park cars.
And what do they say?
Oh. Like, I don't think it's to them. I don't know if it's now. I think because I moved into a different space, I think people are a little more interested in what I do. Because I'm always traveling, right? I'm never home. I'm always traveling. I'm always in a different city. I'm plane hopping all the time. And so now they're like, I thought you just parked cars. Like, what do you?
That's right.
Yeah. And so
people quickly, I don't know if you've experienced this, but people quickly move off. So it's kind of like you tell them what you do, and then they're like, oh, and then they move on.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to know.
No,
they don't want to know what you do. They're just like,
she just parked some cars.
They're relieving. They're kind of embarrassed for you, right?
Yeah, they're like, we'll skip right over what Dani does. Let's just get into.
Hey, Dani, I really want to know what you do, and then I found out, and I kind of don't care.
Now I'm done. Now I don't really care. Yeah. Okay, so I want to back up for a second because for people who don't know us, I mean, you're really well known in the industry. You've been in the industry for a while. What you said, 30 plus years.
Like almost 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm new to the industry. I'm really new to the industry. So people might not know who we are, where we came from, how we got started in parking. I want to know your story. I've heard it many times, but there are people out there who are listening who probably don't know. So John Conway.
John Conway.
How did you get into this crazy world of parking?
Jeez. So I was in the Coast Guard. I was on a lead-et team, which was kind of like law enforcement, jumping off Navy ships in the Caribbean, looking for counter narcotics. And so I got out of the Coast Guard. I was, 23, 24 years old. And I was going to be a deputy sheriff up in upstate New York.
What?
Yeah.
A deputy sheriff.
A deputy sheriff.
Deputy Conway.
Yeah, Deputy Conway. Can you believe that? So I actually got on with the sheriff's department. I was due to go to the range, and that was on like a Monday, and I got called in on a Friday. And the major was like, "Oh, your background check was fine, but we had."
Oh, there's always a but.
But there was a but. There was a but. And so an incident up at Colorado State University that I had, didn't think it was a big deal because I wasn't actually arrested. I was never arrested. But it was an incident.
Were you ever put in handcuffs?
I was put in handcuffs and put in the back of the car. Absolutely. Yeah. And so at that point, they're like, well, do you have anything lined up? And I'm like, well, I have this lined up. So it was, small town, kind of embarrassing. I kind of got blackballed at the last minute. And so I packed up with my wife and moved to Colorado. And I love to ski, went to college here. So found myself back in Colorado. I started selling cars, which was a humbling experience. Nothing like working 18 hours a day and, for 2 or 3 days and walking away and not having nothing to show for it. And so I started answering ads, and there was this parking ad. Just said parking manager.
Back in the day when we were looking through papers for ads.
Yeah. It was like parking manager. So I'm like I'm telling my wife, what does parking manager do? Like, what the hell? So I sent a resume in to parking manager ad. And then my dad, we were living with my dad at the time because he was out here. And he said, oh, you got a call from some company about your parking manager job. And so we were laughing because nobody knew what parking manager was. I'm like, parking manager, what could they be doing? So I had an interview, and I got the job as like a parking manager trainee with a company called Amco System Parking. Okay. And Amco System Parking today is now ABM. So it was kind of so it was the parking arm of American Building Maintenance. And then over time they rebranded. And so that's kind of how I fell into parking. It was kind of laughable. Everyone was laughing. What does a parking manager do?
Right. Well, like as you're looking at that ad and you're like looking at the description, you're like, what is this? You know what? I'm still going to give it a shot. So at any point during your interview, I'm so curious to know, like, were you sitting there and were you like, I still don't understand what I'm supposed to do, but let's give this a shot?
I kind of was. Yeah. And my interview was with a gal by the name of Becky Ortiz. The branch manager at the time was Chuck Evans. I'll tell you what, these people knew parking. Yeah. They were surface lot gurus. Chuck Evans knew a lease. He knew how to old school go on a lot and look at it and lay it out. Everything was dollars space per space. So he would take me out and say, "Hey, John, look at this lot." Guy from Kentucky. He always had his flask in his left breast pocket. Yeah. We were wearing suits too, by the way, and I'm so happy that has like that. That's something in the parking world that has like evolved. It's not really. I know we were like I was like walking around dirty parking garages in a suit and tie. Picking up stuff, picking up trash. So anyway, I Chuck knew his stuff. I mean, we would look at a lot. He'd find dollars. He knew how to lay a lot out, look at it and say, oh, you could get 2 more spaces here. John, that's $600 a month times 12. I mean, that was old school parking. So, but part of this program, when we started out, I had to do, like, I did maintenance for a month. I like sunk poles in the ground, went out with the maintenance. I plowed snow, which is pretty funny. I could tell us a couple stories about that. And I remember I had to cashier and I had to double park cars in some of the lots where we call it valet assist, you know. So we had guys that could turn, you know, a 60 space and they'd have them stacked 5 deep. You know, so I remember that part of my training program sitting there, and it was at 16th and Lincoln, or right where across from the YMCA in Denver.
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember sitting there, and my fraternity brothers, I would see my fraternity brothers walking by, and they would be like, Conway, parking cars. And it was like, I'm just sitting there like so embarrassed, looking at them like, oh my God, these guys are, but I'm in a suit parking cars. So I looked good while I was parking cars. Anyway, so that's kind of my, that's how I fell in.
Your first property that you oversaw when you first came in, when you were hired as a parking manager?
So when I first got my first, so you're going to like this, so my first garage that I was responsible for was the Alamo Plaza.
What?
That's right. And and what was yours?
Yeah. Mine actually wasn't Alamo Plaza.
But you managed Alamo Plaza.
Yeah. At a later date. But my first, well, there, you know, we had a few when I first started in operations. We had a few, but Dairy Block was our main focus.
Dairy Block,
in
woo,
1660.
that's big time.
Yeah, in 1660. So, and we'll get into my story, but I love the connection there with Alamo Plaza.
Yeah, I mean, you had to oversee Alamo Plaza.
Yep.
So I was the guy that did the reversible lane because of Coors Field. You remember? So Market Street, you come off of Aurora Parkway. And Market Street had the most traffic, but Alamo Plaza didn't have an entrance on Market Street. You had to make the left at 18th. And so we lost a lot of traffic and business. And so I thought, wow, let's reverse these lanes. But we had to get monthlies out of the garage. So you had that quick turn. So the property manager at the time, Monica Betos, was like, that's going to cost, I think it was like $20,000 at the time to do all the construction. And she's like, we're going to do it based on your recommendation. It better pan out. And it panned out. Here we are years later. And they're still doing that reversible lane.
When we took that over, we took it over from another operator, but
Operator X.
Operator X. I forget, what did it, you guys had like, was it a mono installed it there?
So when I was there, it was a Hamilton machine. You probably don't even know what a Hamilton machine is. It's like the car wash.
I've seen.
You've seen car wash? Yeah. All right.
I know Scott's story.
Yeah. So we had Hamilton machines and we had the Amano cashier.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
So when you took it over, it probably evolved from when I was there.
I don't know if it was Data Park or if it was a mono. I'm pretty sure it was a mono that we had in there before we obviously ripped everything out. But yeah, that's I love that full.
So what was there when you were there? You guys ripped everything out?
We did. Yeah, we did a full Tiba flip.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Tiba.
We did. Yeah, I was, Tiba.
The Souders.
I hold Tiba near and dear to my heart because of the Souders for sure. It was, I worked with Tiba at most of our locations. We had Tiba specifically because of the service that
mountain parking.
Mountain parking provided. And
that was a dynasty, mountain parking. I remember Scott at Alamo Plaza.
Yeah.
Was doing the reversible lane and he was working on some equipment and I was getting backed up. I was getting buried. It was a Rockies game and So I gave him an apron and a bank and said, you got to help me out. Gave him some tickets, and he was pre-selling with me.
Scott Souter is just one of my favorite humans in the industry. And so I'm excited. I think that we can say that he will be a guest on our podcast.
He will.
And so
actually, he will be our first guest.
Yeah. So I'm really, really excited for that. And we'll get more into his story once he's here, because he has an incredible story.
He does.
And I love it's like a family business, Scott and Zach and two great humans.
So that podcast will be life after parking, right? There's a guy who started out in his garage, drove 50, 60 miles every day and came up, started service, and boom. And again, he's got a great story, but he's a success story in parking.
Well, so what I love, like what you just said, you're like, Scott, I need some help. Like, here, put a vest on here. And like, he's always willing to do that. Like, right. No matter like where he's at, what he's doing in his company, like no matter how high up he is, he's always willing to.
I kind of, I mean, I have a great amount of respect for Scott.
Absolutely.
I kind of see his side because I was in the operator world for so long in my career, probably, I don't know, half. And I kind of see it's a challenge because where I'm at now, it's like we're operator agnostic, right? So it doesn't matter what operator, we service everybody. Right. And that's a challenge, right? So you've got to work through that, and everybody's important. Confidentiality, and it's important. And so now I see kind of the things that he went, some of the challenges that he went through over the years. Yeah. But we'll talk about him on that show. But let's hear. I want to hear your story. How the heck did Dani Crain get into parking?
Oh man, this is
parking.
I think I literally tripped into parking. I was in the radio world for a really long time.
Radio, wow, that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, well,
a little bit.
I did some voiceovers, but I was in marketing and promotions.
Oh my gosh, wait, you did voiceovers?
I did.
So let's hear one.
Oh,
come on, let's do a voiceover with the Dani John show.
I'm a little rusty.
Okay.
I got to dust off.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's all right.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Me on the spot. I was in the radio world for a while and loved my job, loved everyone I worked with, but it didn't. Radio doesn't pay well unless you're like an on-air talent. In sales, marketing and promotions. We were doing, the nitty gritty every day. And so I loved the experience that I got, but I was ready to move on. And I have a good friend who was in the recruiting world, and she didn't recruit in what, like I was, but I just told her, I was like, hey, like if you hear of anything, hey, like shoot it my way, let me know. And she was like, oh, well, funny you ask. Like I met this incredible human. She works in parking and she's looking for somebody to bring on, in marketing. Like her company moved her out here to start the Colorado market. Yada, yada, yada. You should come meet her. We're going bowling. I was like, all right, great.
Bowling. I love bowling.
Yeah. So I went out and I was like, hey, I don't know anything about parking. I don't know what this entails.
Does anyone know anything about parking?
Right. I was like, what would you need me to be doing? Like, tell me a little bit about it. And she was like, oh, don't worry, we'll teach you everything. And I was like, perfect. Because I was lucky enough to come into parking with women leadership, like
right.
An incredible leadership from who I was going to be reporting to. She's like, don't worry, we'll teach you everything. It's, no worries. And I was like, okay. And so I interviewed with her and her boss and then the owner of the company. And again, I was like, I don't know anything about parking, but what I do know is that I hate parking my own car. I don't like getting in my car and driving downtown or even, down the street to park my car. So if I can help change the mind of the parker and make the journey somewhat easier, why would I not want to do that? If I know that I hate it, like if I can help change the mind of the way that people are traveling and it just be a last, minute thought to people, like I don't have to stress about parking.
So that's interesting. So you joined parking because you felt like you could make a difference with people's experience. Now that is interesting.
Yeah, so I came into parking with the intentions of
Changing parking.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And one thing.
How's that going for you?
I hope it's going. I think it's going all right.
Yeah.
I now do this, which is really funny. It's like I feel like I've come full circle because I'm getting to do what essentially I came into parking for. Like when I came into parking, I got to do this in a very small scale, but now I get to do it on a grand scale, right? I'm working with really big venues.
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, as a full,
large venues.
Yeah, implementing a full mobility plan. Like we have campuses. UBS Arena is a campus. It's not just an arena. Like it's a full campus, and we're now trying to solve these major parking and mobility issues. And so I get to do this on a grand scale, which I never in a million years could have imagined. So I feel very lucky, very blessed.
So for the listeners, you started out as an operator.
I did. I started out as an operator, but I actually was brought into operations to do marketing. And
that's interesting.
I learned I was actually hired as a marketing manager, but I learned parking from the ground up. Like I can fix the gate. I can fix the T-bar machine.
Yeah, because weren't you were managing like Idaho Springs, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Their parking stuff. That's where I came across you, right? For the first time.
That's how we first met. That's right, because we were using PRRS as our enforcement piece for Idaho Springs.
PRRS.
PRRS.
Compliance experts.
Which I knew nothing about coming into, so candidly, I think that you and I butted heads a lot when we first met because I don't
butt heads with anyone. Not a chance.
Not a chance in the parking world does John Conway butt heads with anybody.
Not at all. Perfect angel.
Yeah. I can see the halo.
Yeah. My halo looks good today.
Yeah. So I was hired as marketing manager, learned parking from the ground up in operations. Literally, my boss at the time taught me how to fix a machine, fix a gate, fix a roll gate. Like I'm showing up in, hills sometimes and dressed really nice, not a suit and tie like the normal.
Like the guys.
So
what is a girl? What is a suit and tie for the girl? It's like a pantsuit.
Yeah.
Pantsuit? Like Hillary style or?
That was not like the norm when I joined
No?
parking. No. But I did. I enjoy dressing up. I like wearing, nice shoes and parking. I quickly, I like getting my nails done.
Right.
Quickly, that all went out the window. It was like
breaking nails, shutting gate cabinets,
getting dirty. Like at the end of the day, it was like sometimes my
rubbing up against greasy,
exactly. And so
walls. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to learn parking from the ground up, really, in every aspect.
So you cruised over from the operator world, and now you're in the big event space, OVG.
Well, I went to tech after I was an op.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Sorry, I forgot about Flash.
This is my story.
I know. I'm sorry.
So I went from ops to tech. Luckily, I one of the humans that I greatly respect in the industry called me one day and was like, "Are you interested? If not, no big deal. I have this position. I think you'd be perfect for it." And I'm so thankful that he gave me the opportunity to move over. David Weber, incredible human. And so
David Weber, where's he out of? I don't know David Weber.
So David Weber has been with Arrive for a really long time.
Nice. So he's one of the originals, like
he's one of the
Todd
OGs.
Tucker.
David is one of the OGs for sure. He came from ops though. He came from Town Park. He was at Town Park for a long time.
Okay.
Moved to.
Everybody came from somewhere.
Yeah,
it's parking, man.
Moved to Arrive, and then so brought me over, and then I was in the Arrive Flash space for a little while.
Big space.
Where I met my boss. I met Joe.
So you were on the ride, that Flash ride.
Yeah.
They were buying up stuff. They got a lot of stuff.
I was there.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I got there right when Arrive was acquired.
Okay.
So I got there and they had just been acquired by Flash. I was there during that entire transition, and then through all the funding. And then I left right at the end. I left in November of last year, right before they kind of went through.
So now you're so you went operations, cruised over to the tech world, got a little exposure there. And then now you're in like would you say like asset manager side of it? Don't you hire operators?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're like,
and I love how earlier you were like, we're really agnostic to all operators, because we are really agnostic to all operators. And like when I was in operations, it was like operators. Now it's completely different. I feel like even in such a short amount of time, the industry has changed where when I was in operations, it was like, you don't talk to any other operators. Like we are like straight. Right. But now it's a lot different where operators are very, you see mixing and like operators mix and mingle all the time now.
Right.
And so we're very operator agnostic, and it is so cool to actually be working with a lot of the operators that I still got along with when I was in operations. I'm not a person to not I get along with everybody. And so to me, it was like, I can chat and talk and relate to almost anybody.
From my perspective, I get along with everybody too. From my perspective. That's the key word. My perspective.
Well, it might be like that. People probably are like, Dani, I don't know. But, I don't know. I feel like from my perspective as well, I get along with anyone, and everyone, and I can relate.
Back in the day, operators, I remember there was, one of the competitors started Wild Turkey Wednesday, which was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. All the operators got together at a bar and had Wild Turkey Wednesday. Some people probably drank Wild Turkey, not me, but.
What else would you do when you get together for Wild Turkey Wednesday?
So it was all the operators would come together and laugh and have fun and
hopefully drink Wild Turkey.
And some drank Wild Turkey, some drank 20 beers, but it was a good time. And I think somewhere along the lines, that kind of stuff went away, but I'm not in the operator world now, but it seems like it's, probably gotten better, right? Come back.
When I was in ops, which was not that long ago, that definitely wasn't a thing. So
No? Okay.
Yeah. And if it was, I definitely wasn't invited. So
You were not invited. Oh my God. Who is that? Yeah, we need to call them and say, what the?
You know how sensitive I am to not being invited to things. So,
you're always invited. So
I know
you should be invited all the time. You're
Conway. Why haven't I heard of your party at IPMI? And you're like,
you're always invited. You don't need to be invited. Hey, guess what? Are you going to NPA?
Of course.
You're invited to the PRRS party.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm going to be on that VIP list.
You are a VIP. You're a podcaster now. You're famous. You're going to be walking through the exhibit hall and people are going to go, woo, there's Dani Crain. I listen to her all the time. She's so cool.
She's a little crazy.
Although you probably got a following now anyways, right? Don't you?
I wouldn't say that I have a following.
No? Okay.
I don't, but now I think this is good. We can call ourselves podcasters, I think. And my parents are going to understand this so much more.
I know. Maybe we'll switch our line now from parking. Hey, what do you do? I'm a podcaster. Yeah, baby.
Now people are going to be like, oh, my friend.
Groovy.
My daughter, my sister, she's a podcaster. Instead of being like, she works in parking.
She works in parking.
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's Dani Crain. She works in parking.
Exactly. So, So
now you're on top of the world at OVG.
I love what I do, and my journey has been incredible. Honestly, if I never would have switched, I never would have met my boss, Joe.
Joe Lang. I worked with Joe Lang.
Joe is
operator side.
He's
great guy.
Incredible.
Amazing.
I am incredibly
super creative.
Yeah, lucky. Sometimes.
So you're working with a creative guy.
Oh, 100%.
That's fun, isn't it?
So much fun. Because see, Joe is the creator of everything of our team, and then Ryan and Ryan's my counterpart out of Detroit. we just like try to make shit happen, you know? And Joe's like, how about this? How about this? I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard that, but I love it because that's why I got into parking. I got into it because of the technology and like just looking at things in different perspectives. And that's what Joe does.
Right.
Joe's like, what about this? Can we do this? How can we take this technology, although it's meant for this, and use it this way? And
I worked it with Joe.
Love that.
Yeah. I worked with Joe at SP Plus.
Yeah.
And my operator
for a
cap
long time.
and creative guy. I mean, he was a marketing genius.
Oh, still is.
He was like the cutting edge of the time when we were rolling out Click and Park. We were trying to tie in social media now to parking, where parking started becoming, somewhat groovy.
Yeah.
And he was one of the leaders of that.
One of the things I appreciate about Joe is Joe makes parking really cool. Like I love how much he loves parking and mobility. Like
Right.
When I would tell people I love what I do, I love my job, I'm passionate about parking, people were like, is this girl crazy? Like, she's talking about parking and she's talking about passion. And like, it's so nice to be around people with that same
With that
outlook.
enthusiasm,
Absolutely, yeah.
passion,
So
tenacity.
absolutely. Ops to tech, where I met Joe, and then to OVG, which Joe runs the parking and mobility vertical for OVG 360.
You guys do as a team, right?
Yeah. I mean,
All you
you're right.
guys.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
as a team, but Joe
Joe's the
responsible for building our incredible team. We
Right.
have an incredible team. We have an incredible portfolio. We work with so many venues across the country. And I have never met so many great people in different spaces in parking. And
That's cool.
It's been so fun. I mean, I'm not even a year in yet.
So you get to see don't you get to see the side outside, inside too? You guys manage the inside, right?
This is the thing about it. That's not new to me because I came from that world. I came from the radio world where we put on events, we put on concerts, we put on country jam.
Did you go to NASCAR? No, why not?
Why would I go to NASCAR?
Why not? I think you'd be great at NASCAR.
No.
Do you want to go to NASCAR? Left turns.
No.
No? Oh, you say that now. I'm taking you to a NASCAR race.
This is actually really funny because
You're going to
my
NASCAR.
family, my parents and my brothers, who we'll talk about later, they're all into NASCAR. Every Sunday they are like, I'm like, hey, like I'll call my brothers. I'm like, hey, you guys want to come over? Like, we'll grill, we'll have dinner. They're like, no, NASCAR's on. I'm like, what? Like, who just cancels their entire Sunday to watch NASCAR? Like, you just watch cars go round and round and round and round.
That's right.
No, I have no interest.
I'll take you to a race. You will be a NASCAR fan.
All right.
What do you think?
My parents would absolutely love you. They'd be like, "Oh my God, we're going to get Dani to actually sit down and watch a NASCAR race with us."
That's
for the
right.
First time in her entire life.
That's right.
It was always I'm like the odd one out in my.
You won't actually just be watching a NASCAR race though. You'll be involved. So if I bring you, you'll be sitting there in the pit watching the race, watch the cars. There's nothing like smelling jet fuel, barbecue, and all of that on a Sunday morning, walking the garage at
right up my
NASCAR.
nose.
Nothing like that experience. I'm telling you, you're going to love it.
I can't wait. I mean, that just sounds so attractive, honestly.
It does. Okay, so back to parking from
Yes.
NASCAR. So you're now at OVG, loving life.
Loving it.
All right.
I do. I love what I do. I love my team. I love what I get to do. I am never home. I am in the air. And
How was that? What do you like to fly? Do you got miles?
Oh yeah. I'm a Delta all the way.
Delta.
I will if I have to have 3 layovers to get to somewhere, I will do it.
You do Delta, yeah.
Joe, it's funny because Ryan and I are Delta, like we're straight Delta. Joe is United. And even like now, if Joe's like, how about you just hop on this United flight and we'll like go together and land together? And I'm like, no, he's like, but it's nonstop and it'll take you an hour. I'm like, or I can just get lots of miles and fly for 5 hours. I think I'll take the 5 hours.
Wow.
So I'm usually out like at like the 5 a.m. and then I land at the same time.
I'm a Southwester and United.
I like Southwest. You know, I was very Southwest because I fly home a lot. I'm from New Mexico, and so I fly. It's either like an 9-hour
Is there parking
drive.
in New Mexico?
Oh, we'll talk about that. I've had.
Does anybody park in New Mexico?
People park in New Mexico, but you don't. I don't think that you want to park in any parking garage in New Mexico. Like I have had nightmares before I even started in parking about my car just like parking in a parking garage and like my car just being left on blocks and like in
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I did.
It's not.
That's
it's
right.
Not, it's not very. I wouldn't recommend it. And I did tell Joe, I'm like, we do actually OVG. We have some. We do have venues in New Mexico, but we don't implement paid parking there,
Right.
because there's so much space that it's not. But yeah, so I fly a lot. I'm in the air a lot. I spend a lot of time in really cool places. I don't think I've been to a place that I haven't really enjoyed.
So what days do you like to travel?
I usually travel because most events are held
Weekends.
late week and then over the weekends. So I'm usually a Thursday through Monday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
It's, I like it. It depends on where I'm going. If I'm in New York, I go to New York a lot for UBS Arena. So much fun. It's great. I mean, it's easy to get to the arena. You got the city. It's always something going on. And I don't mind it.
Right.
I don't mind it. I think the hardest part about traveling, I'm going to be honest, is getting out to DIA and back.
Really?
How much of a pain in the ass is it to travel to and from DIA?
So DIA, that's it's Den now.
DIA, is it Den really?
It's Den.
It's not
DIA.
What?
No, they've kind of started breaking away from that.
Oh, it is. You're right.
It's Den. That's their brand. But you're not the only one. There's still
Talking
people.
about branding.
Yeah, that's right. You're talking. We'll have a show on branding. That's for sure. We'll have one of our future shows is going to be about branding, and is there really branding in parking, and is there really loyal customers? And we'll talk about that the whole show, but I could go into that for hours. I think there's branding in airports. Outside of that,
and I did fact check you, and you are right. It is Den, and it is not DIA anymore.
I know that because
I feel like DIA's. I mean, we don't need to go into this because it has nothing to do with parking, but
that's a big
DIA
lot
is
of parking.
Better than Den.
A lot of parking at Den.
I park at Den because Ubering out to the airport is 20 times more than it is just to park. And I am that person. I will tell you, if it's a lot full, I'll still go in.
Right.
Like I'm going to pull a ticket and I'll drive until I will find you and I will see you walking out the doors. And I will follow you in my car to your car. People are like, "Am I going to be kidnapped?" I'm like, "I just want your parking space."
You're going to be kidnapped. Danny's going to be kidnapped.
Story for another time. I've almost been kidnapped twice.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
Twice.
So you're pretty aware of kidnapping. You're looking around when you get out in the parking garage.
No, you would think so.
You're the parking guru, man.
You would think so, and it wasn't even in my parking career, and so, but yeah, no, I'm still not aware. My parents kill me for it.
Your dad still worries.
Every day.
Still,
every day. And so,
they live in New Mexico?
They do. My parents live in New Mexico. I was born and raised.
Wow.
So moved to Denver, not like having visited Denver ever.
Mexico has like free college, right? For high schoolers that want to go to college, isn't it? Like if you go in state, it's free.
Yeah. So there's a thing called the lottery scholarship. So if you go to college, you go in state right out of high school, your first semester, you're on probation. I don't know if that's what they call it. But then your second semester, it kicks in and it's called the lottery scholarship. And you basically get your bachelor's degree for free.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
so like all our listeners, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people listening to this, right? Millions of people.
Millions. Oh yeah.
Millions.
We're shooting for the millions, John.
That's right. Millions of people will be listening to this. And there's people literally going free college. They're loading up their trucks right now, packing their house. They're moving to New Mexico.
I mean, please.
I think you just plugged New Mexico, free college.
If that clears up some of like the congestion here on
Yeah.
The freeways, the roads here. Let's get everyone in New Mexico.
Yeah, attention.
They don't
Families,
have
3
they
kids
don't
or
have a
more,
parking
move to
problem.
New Mexico,
Let's-
free
you know what?
college.
Let's create a parking problem in New Mexico so that then we can go there and solve it.
That's right. Yep.
But yeah, so free college. If you go right out of high school, there's certain requirements. You have to go right out of high school. You have to hold a certain GPA, and then you get free college.
Nice.
Pretty incredible. Honestly.
That's
yeah.
probably worth moving to New Mexico for some people. New Mexico's a good state. It's pretty, right?
Beautiful.
You got skiing, Tahoe,
We do.
or not Tahoe.
Taos. I mean, it's beautiful.
Taos, not to be mistaken with Tahoe.
Yeah, definitely different. Although when you fly to Tahoe, you got to fly into shitty Reno. So
Oh, that's right.
I don't know.
Sorry, those of you in Reno. Dani just called it shitty Reno. We like Reno. Some people are living.
I've only been to Reno once, and so maybe I just didn't. And
I've
it
never
was
been to Reno.
It was for pie, I think. So it was for pie.
Yeah,
I swear.
that was a few years back, right?
I wish I could call David right now, because when we were there for pie, every Uber we got in, I swear we almost died. We almost got into so many cracks, and we were going like 1 to 2 miles from
Wow.
our hotel to like go have happy hour, go have dinner. And I'm like, how is it that we can't even drive a mile without almost getting into a car accident where there's no traffic on the road, by the way? So it's like, do cars there just want to slam into each other? I don't know. I'm not
Right.
sure. I've only been once, so.
So now that everybody knows who we are, if they didn't know,
they're going to get to know us so much better throughout.
so
this
what do
entire
we have to tell people? What do they have to look forward to? Because obviously, this show was about us, right? But I think the going forward, I think, what can people look forward to? What do you think?
I don't think that this show. I'll counter that. I don't think this show is about us. I think it's about what we bring to the table and to the industry and the value.
No, I agree. I just meant this particular episode was kind of introductory
by the way,
of you and I,
welcome
right?
to-
Because we are the show,
yeah,
right?
Welcome to season 1, episode 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my question is, from your perspective, if you're listening right now, why are they going to listen to 2 and 3, episode 4 or 5?
Oh, well, because I think that we have, my hope is to bring a lot of value to our listeners, not just, it's for those who have been in the industry a long time, those who are just getting started, and all the in-betweens, right?
Right.
I think there's so much to learn. I'm excited to learn. I learn a lot from just talking to you. I learn a lot when we go to these conferences, just from talking to people and having conversations. And I'm excited to learn myself. I'm excited for listeners to learn as well. I think from the guests that we bring on, I think that there is value in everybody's story and what we do and where we're going.
Right.
From a tech perspective, everything. I think
Absolutely.
the parking industry is one of the industries that I think changes the most and the quickest.
And that wasn't always the case.
No,
so the parking industry, from my perspective, it didn't change for the longest time. We were the last industry probably to accept credit cards. People were kicking and screaming. Oh my God, we don't want to pay those fees. But in the last 5 or 6 years, this industry is just being driven by technology, and it's changing quickly.
Well,
right?
It's funny. Oh, it's changing so quickly. And there are still some people in the industry that are still cash only, not credit card, and
it's unbelievable.
So it's very interesting to see. Like, I get to see the we have venues, garages, surface lots with all the technology to make a flawless
There are meter boxes. Do you know what a meter box is?
Yeah.
They're
Like
still,
the one that you put the cash in?
yeah, you roll it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember Denver? Filled with meter boxes.
I won't name where they're at, but we have some of those.
There's still meter boxes? Oh my gosh.
At venues.
Wow. That is,
Can you imagine? Yeah.
I can't.
What is one of the things that you love the most about the industry, and what is one of the things that you hate the most about the industry?
That's a good question. So what I love about the industry, honestly, is the fact that most people, when they ask me, I know we joked about it earlier, but most people have no clue when I tell them what I do. And you can go from literally opening a box and fixing a gate to going to the mayor's office and meeting with the mayor and having, I've served on many commissions through multiple mayors in Denver, and just shifting and being a part of kind of guiding. When you think about it, all major projects and everything, there's always a parking component, and you're involved with all kinds of, whether it be municipal, whether it be some exciting large stadium that's being built. Parking is always there. The parking manager, or quote unquote, the parking guy or gal, is always somewhere in that room. And that's what I like about the parking industry.
Yeah, I love that.
It's not, I was never kind of the guy that, executivitis, I would call it, sitting at a desk. I hate sitting at desks, right? So I'm the guy that likes to sit at a desk as little as possible, and going
like to
out.
A mix of everything.
And so that's what it was for me. That's what I like about the parking industry. What do I hate about the parking industry? That's a great question. What do you like about the parking industry?
People. I love the people. I think that it's I've got, and I'll never stop saying enough about this, but I've got to meet some incredible humans in the parking industry. A lot of my mentors are, in the parking industry, and a lot of my good friends, I've met a lot of my good friends in the parking industry. And so the people, it's definitely the people for me. If the people didn't make it for me, I definitely wouldn't still be in the industry. And I continue to meet amazing people. And so,
what do you hate about the industry? Because I couldn't answer that.
This might stir up a little, but it is so male dominant.
Oh, yeah.
And not that I hate it, but
wow.
It's not that I hate it, but it's definitely it's a very male dominant industry. And so
it's changing over time, slowly.
Even since I started, like it is changing, but it's still very heavily male dominant. And I like I said, it's not that I hate it, but it's definitely something that I look forward to changing, right? By being a very strong woman in the industry and bringing more strong women and helping and lifting them up, and just having a more, woman dominant presence in the industry. And so.
Interesting. I don't really know how to answer what I hate about the parking industry.
And it's not maybe just hate is a strong word. So like I said, I don't hate that it's male dominant. I just.
Okay. So I guess I feel like, if I had to dislike something about our industry, I feel like we're compartmentalized, and we're not as organized as we should be. So, we have the NPA, we have the IPMI, we have all these things. I don't feel like we as an industry are together fighting, because let's face it, I think some of our biggest threats in the future are government and regulation. And so I don't feel like we're collaborative enough. We certainly have the dollars, we have the resources, and we don't use those in a collaborative effort to kind of shape like a BOMA does, I mean, I remember years ago you raised the steam in BOMA, and they went after that, and because that was going to increase costs for their constituents. And I feel like we don't have that. And if we do, they're not voicing it enough to where the average person in parking knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I hate.
Yeah. Well, talk about unorganized. How did it end up that the two probably most unorganized people in parking are now starting a podcast together?
Yeah. Yep.
This will be fun. It'll definitely be a fun season, and I'm looking forward to
Yeah. Thank you
exploring
for.
more topics and with you and our guest. And it's going to be.
We've got Scott Souter coming up. We've got Kendra Petty coming up. She wrote a book, an amazing book. I've read the book. Have you read the book?
You still haven't given me the book.
I got to give you the book.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You're supposed to give it to me like.
What a book.
Yeah. I know we have incredible guests this season. And so we're really excited to share with all of our listeners experiences and just, I'm excited for people to get to know leaders in the industry and people who are just getting started in the industry. And like I said, all the in-between.
And just talking about it,
yeah.
right?
And we're going to discuss all the topics.
We're just talking about parking. Parking.
We're going to try to make it.
We're not talking about the game. We're talking about parking.
Just parking some cars.
That's right. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to the first episode. We're excited to move forward. So
Of the Dani
stay
and
tuned
John
to
show.
episode 2.